Demonstrate how to measure voltage across a component in Multisim. We know that by default, probes are in Multisim are referenced to ground, and we can see that in this circuit here. I've got a DC circuit with a 12-volt source and 3 identical resistors in series. We know that identical resistors will have identical voltages across them, so the voltage drop across each of these resistors is 12 divided by 3, or 4. And as we look at the circuit, beginning at the source, we have 12 volts at this probe 1. We get on the other side of R1, we get a 4 volt. We've seen a 4 volt drop, so we're going to see 8 volts at probe 2. R2 gives us another 4 volt drop, so we are down to 4 volts on the top side of R3, and then the other side of R3 is connected to ground, so we know that that's 0 volts. So this is fine for some measurements, but there are many cases where you want to measure voltage across a component. And here's how you do that. So click on the probe that you want to measure with, and I want to show you these settings. So I mentioned that all probes are by default associated with ground, but note that if we click the gear icon, we can set the type of the probe, but then we can also set its reference. The only problem is the only reference we have here is ground. So what I need to do is I need to put down a reference probe. So if we click on our probe bin, we can pick out a voltage reference. And let's go ahead and put that voltage reference here on the other side of R1 so that we can measure the voltage across R1. Now you can see with this voltage reference, the context menu over here doesn't have any reference choices. It is only a reference. So to measure voltage across R1, we need to go back to this probe 1, and change its voltage reference to ref1. Now, since I've done that, what I'm actually going to do is call this V1. I'm going to number it V1 because it's the voltage across R1. Let's rerun the simulation and see what we get. All right, there you have it, measuring voltage across a resistor or a component with probes in Multisim. Now, I will say that you might want to stretch your circuit out because especially if you're dealing with AC quantities, these probe pop-ups are going to get large. So you're going to want to spread your circuit out because this is an added component visibly in your circuit. So it is going to busy up the circuit visually. So just to recap, voltage probes by default are referenced to ground. There is a way to change it, and the way to change that is by placing a voltage reference. And I'm doing it again for R2. Then you have to go to the voltage you want, to the probe, the appropriate probe, and change its reference to that point. And I encourage using useful names for your probes. So ring again. And now we get the voltage across R1 and the voltage across R2. So you keep on doing this for as many components as you need to. So that is how you measure voltages across a component with voltage probes and Multisim.